Taxation is typically a national or local issue, not a global one. However, the runaway success of technology companies and online retailers in recent years has elevated the topic to the international arena. The pandemic has increased tech companies' market-leading positions as locked-down households and businesses availed themselves of online products and services. Many of these companies have a vast store of highly scalable intellectual capital which can be relocated to whichever jurisdiction taxes them the least. Or to put it another way, when most of a business lives in the cloud, how do you tax it? In response, there has been growing support, particularly from European countries, for a so-called digital tax. The recent US counter-proposal for a global minimum corporate tax rate further acknowledges that national taxation policies need to be harmonized and overhauled. Tax avoidance through jurisdiction shopping can be as damaging to national economies as another tariff war. Corporate and asset tax changes are maddeningly complex and difficult to predict. Each country employs a vast arsenal of tax instruments targeting income, capital gains, transfer taxes, user fees. Real estate, because it is readily identifiable and immovable, has long been a favourite taxation target. But so have corporations, households, financial transactions, travel and trade. And all countries make extensive use of tax expenditures. Many countries such as Ireland and Singapore use low corporate tax rates to attract investment, while others such as Hong Kong offer incentives to dissuade companies from leaving. Still others actively market their tax haven status and offer tax advantages for individual and corporate investors. The long-term trend across all countries has been to reduce corporate tax rates. In 1980, corporate tax rates averaged 40% around the world. In 2020, their average is now 23.8%. If a global minimum corporate tax is introduced, a likely repercussion is that low-tax countries might lose some of their competitive advantage.
No nation is likely to relinquish their taxing power without a lot of vigorous debate. Some European countries could benefit from higher tax revenues if they can be collected from the likes of Amazon or Facebook and Google. Meanwhile, the Asia-Pacific triumvirate of Alibaba or JD.com and Tencent, they've also caught the attention of government regulators from time to time. Both situations demonstrate the power struggle going on between nation-states and these giant technology companies. There may be negative impacts on office markets from tech companies downsizing their physical footprints, particularly when they feel not appreciated by the countries in which they operate. But we don't think that those impacts will be hugely detrimental to the office districts of Europe or Canada and Japan because space availability is already pretty low there. Now in the US, vacant space is plentiful. Yet, at the same time, tech companies like Apple going to North Carolina or Amazon expanding in Northern Virginia, they both still continue to plan expansions of physical space in anticipation of a hybrid work-from-home, collaborative office model. Meanwhile, here in the U.S., President Biden just this week has proposed a long list of new tax policies. In sum, this COVID era has given impetus to a series of big government policies: infrastructure spending, reduced greenhouse gas emissions, a more equitable, healthier environment. These are all among the big government initiatives. Yet nearly all of these programs come at a high cost, which many of these new taxation policies are designed to address. Real estate investors, including LaSalle, are rapidly adopting voluntary ESG policies, including net zero carbon pledges. We're doing our part to improve the world, and these ESG initiatives can be accomplished without the need for huge increases in taxation. Nevertheless, 88 countries already have carbon taxes, according to the World Bank, and more are coming. In sum, owners and managers of hard assets, we share the concern that the playing field is not always even. Owners of intellectual property and virtual networks, they often escape the scrutiny of tax authorities in a way that is impossible for us, the owners of brick and mortar. But those days of evading the long reach of the taxmen, they may be coming to an end.